What's going on, guys? I have an interesting project that we kind of dove into before I started making a video on it, but it's still kind of interesting. I got my father's Winnebago Era right here, and believe it or not, this thing's going to be for sale pretty soon. So if you've seen the videos that Matt's RV review came down here and did on this, as well as some of the reviews we did on this thing, this is an incredible floor plan. Very, very rare. It is a Class B on a Sprinter chassis dually with the Mercedes engine transmission inside of it. Anyways, let me show you what's going on. So my father called me earlier this morning and asked if he could bring the Era by to see if I could help him diagnose an issue. So he said the water pump wasn't coming on. Now, if he connects to city water, everything works, but the water pump just won't work by itself. And by the way, it's like 110 degrees out here today, super sunny, which you can see. And I have my Zero Breeze going. Boy, I have not used this in a long time, and it is helping tremendously. I got this a long time ago, probably like a year ago. You can see how dust covered it is. It's got the big battery pack on the bottom. It's blowing out 71 degree air. It actually feels a lot colder than that, but it's doing a really good job of keeping us a little bit cooler while we're in here trying to figure out what's going on. Anyways, we figured it out. My father had a hard time locating where the water pump was. It was actually, in his opinion, under here, but then I found that panel right there with 4 screws. One thing to always keep in mind when you have an RV is they typically try to do at least a reasonably good job of giving you access to your higher service related items, or at least things that might have a filter on it. So this is the exact same water pump that is in his RV, and you know you work on RVs a lot when you have a spare water pump that happens to be the exact same one that's in an RV that you've never owned. It's a SureFlow water pump, model number 4008-101-A65. Same one that fit in the Coachman Chaparral we had, same one that goes in the Brookstone, same one that probably goes in about 100 different RVs. So if you're looking at getting an extra water pump, this is the one that is very, very common in many, many, many RVs. That said, yeah, they typically make this so it's user serviceable. So you can get to this filter right here in case you need to clean it out, because there's a schedule that you're supposed to actually get to this thing and clean it out. Anyways, his water pump wasn't coming on. We pulled this panel off, tested 12 volts right here, and there was 12 volts getting to the system. You can see the water pump right there. But the system just wasn't turning on, so we had to diagnose it a little further. And before diving too far into it, the first thing I wanted to see was the wire configuration. We have a multimeter out here. We were testing everything just to make sure power was getting to where it was supposed to be going. But one thing I noticed was this red wire right here was tucked back there, and it wasn't actually connected to anything. So instead of removing that one, since I have literally the exact same one right here, the first thing that kind of threw me off was the red wire going underneath. And I was thinking, well, maybe it's connected there and they just have a pigtail off for some other purpose in case you need it. No, that red wire actually connects from the bottom here up to the top, and it's that second one, the lower one right there, and it was disconnected. So I guess just over time, over all those rough road conditions we always talk about, the jostling, you know, bumps, that earthquake and hurricane simultaneous thing, that wire became disconnected right here. And once that wire became disconnected, it was no longer feeding 12 volts to the pump down here. So I was able to reach back there, plug it in, and voila, everything worked instantly. So the point of this video is just to kind of understand that sometimes problems that you take your RV to the dealership for to get them to fix are very, very simple problems. And, you know, this RV's, I think it's like 4 or 5 years old now. It's probably traveled close to 20,000 miles around the country over different types of roads. Shoot, even the roads to get out here are kind of rough, and a connector can eventually work its way loose. And you can see the wiring is very nice and clean, bundled up really well. It's routed really well. There's nothing real sloppy about any of this, but wires can sometimes bounce around enough to where they might come disconnected. And this specific wire became disconnected from the plug that connects it to the actual pump. And by way of it becoming disconnected, it no longer allowed the pump to work. So this is something that a lot of folks would have, you know, gotten really, really frustrated about, taken their RV to a dealership. They would have sat there for weeks until it was its turn to be worked on by the few technicians that the dealership might actually have. and they would have scoured around, and they probably would have charged hours of labor, which could have equated to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, to locate the issue, called diagnostic fees, right? Then they find it, and it's as simple as plugging it back in, and they may not have told you that. They may have said a wire became disconnected. They wouldn't have told you how simple it was, or maybe sometimes they would. I mean, it depends on the dealership you're working with. But dealerships have to pay employees, and they have to justify those employees working. So if they work hours trying to figure out what's wrong, just to find out it's a wire that came off, they're going to charge you for it. And it creates this whole perception of the industry that everything's junk, that everything's horrible. Now, I'm not going to say that RVs are perfectly built. I mean, my father's RV is exceptionally well built. It's probably one of the best built RVs you can buy from a Class B perspective, but there's still issues, right? They still use panel boards like this. It's still screwed in to a piece of wood right here. You know, they still use a very, very common water pump. It's just, there's issues that can happen, and when they happen, understanding, doing some research and diagnosing the problem yourself, you can typically fix at little to no cost if you're willing to do a little bit of research, if you're willing to dive in and work on it. And that's one of those things I always talk about with RVs. If you're not willing to try to understand how to do things yourself, you're going to have a really hard time working with an RV or owning an RV, because there's so many little things like this. This could have been a huge headache for somebody. Let's say you're planning on going on a trip, you get out there, you're in the middle of nowhere, your water pump's not working, you haven't taken the time to figure out how to use basic tools, how to access things, carry a multimeter around, use YouTube for resources. You can't get it fixed. It's ruined your trip, and your whole perception of RVs is now changed and diminished simply because of a problem that took literally 30 seconds to fix. And that's the key behind this. Dig in, figure out what's wrong, try to do as much of this stuff yourself as possible, and you're going to save a lot of money, and you're going to find that 99% of the things that frustrate you about RVing are simple fixes, and will also build you skill sets to actually accomplish other things that you may run into in the future. Anyways, just wanted to do a quick video on this, talking about it. Super, super simple fix. I mean, we were ready to rip it out and put a new water pump in. Didn't need to do it. It was simply a wire that was loose. Checking all the wires, checking what's plugged in, super important whenever you have an electrical issue. And trying to figure out what the problem is and doing as much research as possible. And before we leave the RV, just wanted to jump to the rest of the interior so you can check out what this thing looks like. We're going to put that panel back, but rear bathroom, it's got a full bathroom, porcelain toilet. You can see the woodwork back here. Super nice, real stone backsplash. I mean, this is an incredibly built RV. The woodwork, I love it when they do this curved solid wood cabinetry. Windows all around. It's got a really cool Aldi heating system that basically sucks the air under, blows it out, heats the unit up. This converts into a bed. The only downside to this unit is probably the bed. It's not a crazy huge bed. It's not like a queen size or a king size bed. And it essentially is an electric tri-folding sofa. But the cool thing is, it's a Class B. So you're right up here with the cockpit anytime you want, right? You're taking a drive. You can access pretty much the entire thing without putting the slide out. That's a big perk of a Class B. You can go straight to the bathroom, plenty of room. We're walking all the way through this unit without pushing a slide out. You can even sit in this area while the unit's in motion if you absolutely have to. I think they put just one seatbelt on this sofa, and it's kind of tucked back there right now. But then you got more cabinetry up here, nice air conditioning system on board. Just a really cool RV. And it's great if you want to go to, you know, different places around the country and you want to have everything all connected together so you don't have to get out of your RV, you know, hook up at an RV place, take your vehicle out. And it's relatively small. It's actually shorter than my F450, and it's a little narrower than my F450. So that's really nice. Now, it is significantly taller because it is an RV and you have to be able to walk around in here. But really, really cool. He's going to be selling this pretty soon. It's a 2015, and he's going to be asking about 89, you said? About 89 grand. 31,000 miles. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed the video. We're going to patch everything back up, and we're going to wrap this one up. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again real soon. I am really, really digging this thing. The hotter it is outside, the colder this feels inside. Awesome. Anyways, guys, talk to you soon.